Hello, welcome to Advangelists. This video focuses on walking us through the bidder platform that Advangelists has. The URL to go to the bidder platform is demand.advangelist.com, and this particular UI helps us focus on our supply side platform capabilities. This helps us to focus on getting the right inventory to the right bidder interface and gives the bidder the controls necessary to control the kind of supply that they are looking to buy. As soon as a bidder logs in, this is the dashboard that they are taken to. By default, it will give you a date range, preferably today, and tell you how many requests, how many wins, how many impressions, what's the expected fill rate, counted clicks, average eCPM, as well as gross, which is what the bidder owes Advangelists at the end of the day that comes through the platform. All of it can be filtered out by accounts. It can be filtered out by an inventory type, whether it's display, native display, or audio supply. And it can also be filtered out by display instances. Down below is a graph that denotes impressions by default. You can disable impressions and map it by any other data point that you want to look at. As an example, if you wanted to see the number of requests being sent per day, you could look at it using this system. If you wanted to look at the availability of requests that you could be getting based on your bidder settings, you could look them over here. If you wanted to look at how many of them qualify based on your user settings, you could look them over here. The bids being received by the Advangelist SSP via the instance are called wins in our system, and they can be looked at here. And this is the impression ratio. As you can see here, we strive towards keeping the ratio of wins to impressions up to a maximum, and our goal is to at least maintain it at 60% plus. You can map clicks, you can map gross, and you can map data costs associated, if any, to the instance right in this chart. The chart can be exported out as a print, a PNG, a JPEG, PDF, or an SVG vector image. For the more traditionalist in you, you can flick this little toggle switch and move to a chart-based user interface where you can sort information by date in ascending or descending order. And here you get information around requests, wins, impressions, clicks, CTRs, CPMs, fill rates, gross, and data cost. All of it is exportable as a CSV, as an Excel file, as a PDF, and as a printout. Now, I wanted to spend a little bit of time today in walking you through the knobs controls and the bells and whistles, if you will, of what is available in terms of bidder settings for a particular client. So let's go into the Manage Bidder section right over here, and we will look at a particular setup for a particular client. This is all demo data, of course, but here it tells you in detail what you can essentially do when you're creating a new bidder. So let's create a new bidder and we'll walk through all the knobs and controls available here. The first selection that anyone makes is you're figuring out what kind of inventory do you want to send the client. Or if the client is using this interface, then what kind of inventory do they want to receive? So you have display supply, you have native video, native display, video, as well as audio supply. So in this case, I'm going to create a display bidder and send them only inventory related to banners, rich media creatives, expandables, and whatnot. You select the account from here, and every bidder instance that is created would fall under an account that someone has given you access to. You define the name of the bidder over here. I will just call it XYB bidder test display. It's very important to follow a nomenclature over here. Typically, the nomenclature that I recommend you follow is the name of the bidder, followed by whether it's a test or not, followed by whether it's a display bidder, a video bidder, or the likes of such. It's very easy when it comes to reporting and quick visual cues to understand what kind of instance it is just from the name. So highly recommended to follow the nomenclature described here. You'll enter the endpoint here. Because this is a dummy bidder, I'm going to enter some random endpoint. Now this endpoint is usually supplied from the bidder instance itself, and You have to specifically ask the bidder whether their endpoint can be used both for display and video, or do they have separate endpoints for display and video. Next follows the method. So anyone who is on RTB will always be set up as a post method. Anyone that has a custom implementation will be set up under the GET protocol. And we have custom handlers for few of the clients who are on non-RTB based server-to-server architectures. Some examples include Smarto, InMobi, OpenX, Mobfox. But other than that, all of them would be set up as post-based endpoints. Now, traditionally, whenever you are setting up a bidder, that's all you do. But this particular interface is a very granular interface and provides you with the bells and whistles to control what exactly is the requirement of this particular bidder instance. Let's assume, for the sake of conversation, that this particular instance is only interested in interstitial full screen inventory. So in that case, you will select full screen inventory, both for mobile as well as tablet. The optional CPM values come as soon as you select a particular ad size. And in here, you can define that this particular bidder instance should get inventory only between $1 and $10 and nothing more, nothing less. That way, you're not sending them inventory that they're not interested in buying. Countries. You whitelist and blacklist countries based on what you want to send them. By default, it's a global instance and it will send inventory from all around the world. So if you want to restrict it, you will enter the name of the country here. Everything is an autocomplete list. The reason being pretty simple. We wanted to make it error proof so that when you do enter something, there is no possibility of making a textual typo. So in this case, I will enter United States. You have the ability to do both whitelisting and blacklisting. So in case you said, hey, I really want everywhere but the United States, you could establish it as a blacklist or establish it as a whitelist. Request compression. By default, plain text is selected, but always, please ask the bidder whether they support gzip in requests and responses. And if they do, select gzip. It's a very important compression technology both for Advangelists as well as for the bidder because it reduces the data transfer cost by half for both instances, and it's very beneficial to do business, essentially. Auction type is either going to be first price or second price. By default, second price is selected. 99% of the RTB-based bidder instances work on second price, but please confirm with them whether they want to work on first price or second price. This next section is very important. It's the custom script section. Now, you will run across instances where people want to essentially fire a pixel on every impression that they do, every win that they fire, every ad that they place. And that custom script can come directly either from us or they might be using a third-party service like a forensic for supply quality. Any JavaScript that needs to be fired on an impression that the bidder essentially buys can be put in the custom script section. Seed type, public, protected, and private. These seed types denote what the particular instance is supposed to get access to. If it's a client that brings in their own inventory, then you will set them as private, which means that they are accessing their own inventory. Setting something as public means they have access to the whole marketplace of publishers on the platform. The next section is goals. We do give people the ability to restrict their buying in case they want to. So someone can come to us and say, hey, because I'm in a testing period, I really want to restrict my buy to $1,000 a day. And the system will make sure that it ignores any bids that come in after that number has been achieved. You can establish goals both on budgets as well as impressions. Next section is QPS control. Here is where you decide what's the number of QPS requests per second that you want to send to this client. In this case, I'm just going to enter 2000 QPS as a starting point to have the client selected. You have granular controls at the bottom. You can select country-wise QPS where you're able to tell people, hey, this is the particular country and I want this QPS for that particular country. So in an example like this, if you were to enter United States and you were to enter 1000 QPS, it will restrict the QPS for US to 1000 and distribute the rest in the other countries that you've whitelisted. Now, unfortunately, as you look here, it's a paradox because we only enabled United States. So if I had enabled Canada here as an example, and if I had enabled Aruba here as an example, in this case, it will send 1000 QPS for the US, and the rest 1000 QPS, it'll divide between Canada and Aruba depending on availability. You can establish QPS by bundle as well, where a publisher comes, where a bidder comes to you and says, hey, you know what? This is my list of publishers that I really, really like, and I would like you to send more or less requests for these set of publishers um, as opposed to the other one. So you can control that granularly here. You can also add them as groups so that you don't have to enter values here manually. And this will help you create uh, uh, an Excel file based list to be imported directly into the platform. Next section is rev shares, where um, bidders put in rev shares that need to be put in to comply with the system. Now, the next section is targeting, which is very, very interesting and very, very important. So what we have done here is we have brought every single capability that you have in trafficking a campaign or a direct buy onto a bidder instance as well, so that they can granularly control what they need to achieve. You can define, you can filter, and you can zone in on the exact inventory that is required. Let's take some examples. You can decide between whether you want in-app inventory or web inventory or both. You can decide whether you want inventory that mandatorily has an IDFA or not, interstitial or non-interstitial, secure or non-secure or both. Whether you always want a bundle ID or a domain in the request or you're okay with that it being shadowed. Location data, whether it's derived from GPS coordinates or it's derived from IP addresses or user derived or both. Then you zone in on device types. Do you want inventory only for phones and tablets, or do you also want it for connected TV or personal computers? You can define operating systems that are involved in this case, the version of operating system that's involved in this case, whether the inventory that is coming in supports MRAID or not, VPAID or not, whether the traffic has valid IP addresses that have been authenticated by our in-house AdCop tool. You can upload a list of application IDs or bundle IDs to say, I really want to whitelist or blacklist these set of IDs before they come to me. You can upload a list of publishers, a list of IDFAs to say, hey, you know what? I only want to receive requests for a particular list of IDFAs that are being sent through the system. And last but not the least, you have the supply side deal ID. So in case you are connected to one of our partners and you have a direct deal with them, you can come in and say, hey, send me inventory for the supply ID that is being received from client X, Y, and Z. And as soon as you hit save, within 20 to 30 minutes, the system automatically checks that everything is accurate, figures out that the connection is perfect, and automatically takes the bidder instance live, and you will start receiving requests as a bidder on the other side of the equation. So that's your whole managed bidder section. One thing that I do like to point out here is that we have an automated QPS control mechanism feature that we make available to all of our bidder clients. And I took the liberty of opening it up in a new tab already. This section can be found between QPS controls and rev shares, and it's called QPS optimization. When you do click on this, this studies patterns based on bundle IDs that the bidder is interested in, impression type, size, country, OS, what publisher, what placement, what is their GCPM, what is their PPM, and then creates two buckets. One is your text traffic percentage, where in this 5% of the traffic that's being sent to the bidder, we are testing what they might be interested in. So sort of a probabilistic modeling, if you will. And expiry time, which is after how much time should it rerun the algorithm to understand what is the inventory that should go to the bidder instance to make it happen. Coming back, you have a whole section of reporting down here. So as a bidder, you have granular access to reports. As an example, when you were looking at the dashboard, you only had basic information around requests, wins, impressions, fill rates, gross CPM, and the likes of such. Here you can drill into what's going on behind the scenes. So let's click on Analytics Dashboard. And here you're able to see, hey, what's going on behind the scenes. So here I'm able to see that I received 5.3K bids. Out of that, 4.14 were won, but I ignored 1.14. So it's a very important data point to see why the publisher, in this case Advangelists, is ignoring the bids. I go here, sort them by ignores, and here I'm able to see that this bidder out of 1.14K, 1.1K was less than the floor that was sent in the bid request. So obviously they were ignored. Some of them were bad ads, which our ad cop tool figured out and stopped at source. Some of them were invalid ad sizes. Again, our ad cop tool figured out that this ad size is invalid. Someone is sending a interstitial ad in a banner slot, so we had to block it. And some of them were secure assets in non-secure environments or vice versa. And those are stopped as well to begin with. Let's pull this down and go again to impressions. So here you have the capability of completely understanding what's going on behind the scenes, where you are able to see, okay, great, I am doing all of this information. What bundles am I buying? And what's my win rate per bundle? Where are these coming from? So bid rate, win rate, impression rate to understand um, whether the inventory is outperforming, performing, or underperforming, and gives you the capability to not only look at this information, but you can establish blacklists and say, hey, you know what, I really don't want to buy these apps. And you can select the bidders that you have and either override existing targeting or append to existing targeting to make that optimization happen for you. You have other information here that talks about what device type are you buying, what operating system is the bidder most interested in. It looks like there's a healthy mix between Android and iOS. Um, whether they're buying applications or mobile web or both, looks like they're only buying in-app data. And the list goes on and on and on to understand behind the scenes what's going on. And this is a quick overview into the artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms that make sure that any access that we give to a particular bidder instance is accurate and is completely transparent for someone to come in and deal with. You also have access to a pre-analytics dashboard called the supply dashboard, where you can filter supply and understand the availability of supply in the system. So if you wanted to come in without talking to an ad operations or a client success team and say, hey, I have a new campaign that wants to run in Indonesia, as an example, and I want to see what ad sizes are available and at what pricing, you could just come in here and look at this data, and this will tell you the availability of information and their average floor prices that are available across the system so that you can adjust your requirements accordingly. Very, very powerful tool to minimize back and forth human interaction, and very, very powerful tool to uh, plan what is available to a bidder as a service instead of worrying about it in detail. If you're someone that is very heavily focused on viewability and has a requirement to use Moat and or IAS, you can even come in here and say, hey, you know what, I'm looking for this availability, but I only want to see what is supported by Moat in Indonesia. So you can come here, establish Moat filter as a filter, and it will tell you that I have a mere 8.3 million auctions per day at a base floor of 1.22 across all ad sizes, and I can support that. So you further expand into it, and you can get the prices per ad size and take it forward from there. You can also pull bundle IDs from the list. You don't have to be restricted just to ad sizes. You can see what application, what domain, what device, whether it's connected TV or desktop or mobile, is available um, for this kind of data that you have a requirement for. You can even understand context of this. So most of the data that's available is related to action, tools, sports, casual, photography, communication, and stuff like that. You have detailed controls into creating deals. So as a bidder, we give you complete access into understanding um, how you can get very curated um, PMPs via this interface. And we expose this out in a bidder instance. So you have a whole manage deal section where you can create deal IDs, name your price, name your floor, duration, second price auctions or fixed price auctions, define whether you want a first look or not. And you can only see the bidder instances that are available to you, select them. And down below, you have everything that you can possibly have when you're trafficking a campaign on the demand side, where you can do contextual targeting. As an example, if someone clicks games, I'm saying that, hey, this is either someone who is either in a store or in a casino right now, or in an arena where there is a game that's going on, or is actually playing a game on their devices. Same thing with the casino. Either they're physically present inside a casino, or they're playing a casino game on their devices. And you have the whole targeting mechanisms that we talked about in the bidder section, where you can target by country, by what carrier are they on? Are they on AT&T? Are they on Verizon? Are they on something else? Publishers, application IDs, bundle IDs, make of the device, model of the device, IAB category of the user, supply side deal IDs, IFA groups. You can even upload a list of IDFAs, IP addresses, polygons that you want to target along those lines. You can target someone by keywords. What are they talking about? What are they reading about? What are they doing? Device types, operating system version, supply type, whether it's in-app, mobile web, or both. Target IDFAs, gender, what connection are they on? Are they using Wi-Fi? Are they using 4G? How are they exactly holding their phone? Is it in landscape mode? Is it in portrait mode? What is the target API? Am I only looking for inventory that supports MRAID or VPID, or am I looking for generic inventory? What's their age range? What is the language of the app that they're using? Are they Arabic, English, French, Hispanic? And we can add more languages along the way. Traffic with valid bundle IDs, traffic with only GPS coordinates, mode supported apps, IAS supported apps, interstitial, non interstitial, secure, what exact ad size, and then finally, location targeting, which is very, very important in this case because you started at a very macro level, which was state, and now you're drilling down into, um, I'm sorry, you started at a very macro level, which is country, and now you're drilling down into states. You're drilling down into DMAs if it's US. You're drilling down into zip codes. Um, and if that's not micro enough, you can free-form draw your own radiuses and own polygons to define, okay, I am looking to target this particular area within the San Francisco Bay Area regime. You can upload a list of lat longs. And if you're interested, you can actually define a chain or a point of interest. As an example, you say, hey, I only really want to target people when they are inside a Starbucks. So you can start talking about this list, typing it in, hit go, filter out by state if you want to. But if you don't, then it will map every single Starbucks that it has in the States. And you can eventually go and check them out and see how the polygon looks like. So let's just select something random. And it tells me that here is a particular Starbucks. And every time you click this, it takes it to the next level and makes sure that you're only targeting people that are within a Starbucks. You have accesses to all these deals once you create under an active deal menu, and it tells you the number of impressions, clicks, and data around what's going on with those particular users. Same thing, you have expired deals for you to understand what's going on. There are other sections of the reporting interface where you can look at wrap-up reports as well. And here you're basically saying, okay, great, for this particular account, all inventory types, all bidders, show me what's going on in the past 7 days and what's the overall picture for me to send to my client. So this tells the distribution between what applications are being most bought, what ad sizes are being most bought, what impressions, what wins. And you can do a very quick mapping between different DSPs that you have under one account and different DSPs mapped to a particular application. All of that, again, is exportable as Excel's PDF sprints, and the graphs are exportable as PNGs, PDFs, and other similar documents. You also have a massive reporting section where you can pull data out depending on your need. And in this case, it mimics the dashboard, but it gives you access to a much broader historical data where you can go back as long as 18 months and pull the data out and group it by day, group it by hour, group it by bidder, group it by inventory type. So all in all, it's a very, very powerful tool with all the bells and whistles required for a bidder to essentially work with us and create a very controlled environment where the ad operations and account managers of the bidders can granularly control what they want. And essentially, by using the automation that is involved in QPS optimization features and other features, have a very robust system to achieve their goals at a fraction of the inventory cost, as well as a fraction of the AWS or Google Cloud or whatever infrastructure costs that they're used to paying. That's all for today. Thank you so much for taking the time. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to reach out to our support teams at CS, that's client success, at advangelists.com, CS at advangelists.com. My name is Deep. I am the founder and CEO of Advangelists. If you need to reach me, please feel free to email me at deep, DEEP, at advangelists.com, and I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for taking the time.